We're live. We're live.
You're live.
We're live.
We're live.
Okay. Well, I'll wait till somebody comes in before I start talking.
I'm gonna put this full screen first. Maybe. Oh, bullocks.
Okay. All right. We're live. Okay. Well, I'll tell a story while we wait for more people to join. I've been jumped 2 times in my life, right? The first time I've been jumped, I was, let's see what grade it is. I was in either 6th or 7th, and there's this new kid. This is before I was saved officially. But there's this new kid that came to school, and, you know, we were fine until one day. Thanks, Ryan. Until one day I decided to get all, funny with my friends because I wanted to show off, right? And I don't know why I decided to do this. This is the dumbest thing ever, and obviously none of you should ever do this. But I decided to act all gay towards him, I guess is the best way to put it. And one day he ended up chasing me after school and tried to punch me and stuff with him and his 30 friends. And when he came at me, I froze because I'm not a violent person at all. I froze and I just ducked, and he missed his punch, and I slipped again, and then I slipped, and it looked like I ducked again, and he missed his second punch, but I looked like a good fighter, obviously. And then and then it was over, and that was in middle school. And the next day they found like a switchblade and brass knuckles in his locker, and he got banned. So shoot. I hope that wasn't for me. The second time I got jumped was one of my buddy's birthday parties, and we're going to the Apollo Park to play some basketball at like 10 o'clock. And I just hear like a car screeching like, Arr! And I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck? And I look over and like 4 or 5 guys jump out of the car and start sprinting at me. And I was so confused what was going on. And so I take off sprinting, and I look behind me, and like that, I was caught. And as like they're dragging me back to their car, I like look at all my friends, and my first friend, like if this was the wall he was by, he just would go like this, just hides. The other one ran all the way back to the house we were staying at, and I don't even know where the third one went. And one of them, while he's running back, was screaming, "John got jumped! John got jumped!" And so I'm like freaking out, obviously, because I'm getting kidnapped in my mind, and people start hitting me and like doing whatever they're doing to me. I was freaking out, and I look up, and it was like my brother and his friends. And so they take me around the block, freak my friends out for a bit, and I go back to my friend's house, and they weren't even like – one of them came out of the bathroom like nothing happened. I'm like, are you kidding me? You ran away. And so then they started playing basketball at Paul. I was like, ooh, we should get airsoft guns and shoot them. And so we get airsoft guns. We're going to the place to shoot them. And I was like, oh, dude, that's them, because they pulled up in the car. And Tate's like, are you sure that doesn't look like your brother's friends? And I was like, that's them. And so we start shooting airsoft guns at them. Not them. And so a whole new group of people come peeling out around the corner chasing us to jump us. So I've been jumped twice and almost 3 times in my life, all within middle school. So there's my story. Okay, so
needless to say, don't be like John.
Yeah,
middle school John.
Don't be like middle school John. Okay, so
better friends.
Yeah, ones that actually stick up for you. That's pretty hard to find these days. So today, I've been working all this week, mowing and stuff, and I didn't plan on doing a live tonight, but here we are, right? God just put on my heart real quick that I needed to do something just to stay connected with you guys. I just want to let you guys know that I missed the heck out of you guys. You guys were the highlight of my week. These Wednesday nights are awesome. I love spending time with you guys, and I just miss talking to you guys, seeing you guys, and just being, friends with you on a daily basis. With that out of the way, Ty, what are we talking about today?
Tonight we're talking about how to be a man of God.
Speaking of which, this is Ty. I'm sure you guys knew that.
Yeah, can't forget me.
Yeah. Talk about how to be a man of God. And so some of you are in middle school, some of you aren't, right? But being a man of God is going to be something you're going to have to face eventually. So even if you don't consider yourself a man right now, eventually you're going to become one. And we just want to kind of guide you guys into, and a lot of these things we're saying can translate to just being a person of God. You don't have to be specifically a man. A lot of these things we're going to say translate directly to a woman, right? And so, Ty, how do you want to start this out?
Oh boy, good question. So one of my favorite books is called Wild at Heart, and it's written by John Eldridge. It's a super famous book, but it's a book directed towards men and discovering, what it's like to be a man. Pretty much what we're talking about, how to be a man of God, and he just dives deeper into it. And so I've pulled so much stuff from it, read it at different stages of my life when I was in high school, when I was out, after I got married, after I had kids. Like, I've pulled out different things from those different times, and I just pick up different things every time because life is so different. But he goes into these different points, and one of them that I really like is that a man has something to fight for, and that's can go many different ways, like your identity, your purity, just anything, like what you're going after in life. It's going to take work, and it's not just going to come to you. It's not going to just be handed to you in a passive way. Like, if you're going to do anything in your life worth noting or worth, anything, it's going to take work. And so that means you're going to have to like sacrifice in areas. You're going to have to be disciplined. So if that means, like, you think about sports, that's an easy one to think about.
Yeah.
Like, you wake up early and you go to the gym. Like, that's not fun. Waking up early sucks. I hate waking up early.
I'm not a morning
Do it
person.
every day, and I hate it. Never gotten used to it. And then you go to a gym to literally break down your muscles, to run your butt off, to, whatever.
Yeah.
To work
Push
hard.
yourself to limits.
And it's like, you wouldn't do that if you had no reason. Like, that'd just be stupid.
Yeah.
So you go there and you have a bigger vision in mind of you want to be a better runner, better basketball player, whatever it is, fill the blank. You have a vision, and you're putting yourself through pain, temporary pain, to hopefully get a greater result. So it's like, how can you relate that to, being a man, a person of God? I mean, that could look like sacrificing hanging out with a certain group of people, or doing things that might seem fun in the moment, but those are just like temporary pleasures, whether that's, going to party, or, doing things that just aren't good and healthy for your soul. And it's like, you usually know what those things are. Like,
so for a quick example, when I was in middle school, obviously I talked earlier about not being quite saved in my eyes. One thing that I had to give up was when he talked about friendships. It was definitely the hardest thing for me to do as I became a real Christian, is giving up friendships that I didn't want to. Even in middle school at my age, there was kids spiking their drinks at their parents' house and stuff, and cursing all the time, and just doing things that wasn't pleasing God. And I knew that, but I didn't care, because I wanted to be a man in their eyes, be cool in their eyes, but I could care less what God was thinking. And so, like Ty was saying, like, for examples, I know some of you might think it's way out there that these things happen in middle school, but it's not. Unfortunately, that's today's society, that these things are just okay, and they're there for fun, and they're there to take your mind off what's happening tomorrow or what happened yesterday or whatever it is. These things that temporarily please you can really damage your heart. It might please you in the moment, but eventually it's going to damage something, and I take it like, when you're a kid and you had a stick and you bang it against something, it might not be that bad for the first hit or the second hit, but eventually that whatever you're hitting is going to look pretty crappy. And so letting these small things slide, these small friend groups really speak into you, is really going to damage something in you, especially over time. It's going to be really hard to keep this high standard that you should hold yourself to and that God holds you to, because you've been hitting yourself essentially with this stick. So anyways, continue off that.
Yeah, like, based on that, like, there's a quote that I keep thinking of, and it's, live a life worthy of your calling. So let's say, like, you imagine, like, you have this huge calling and your life is supposed to, like, sustain that. If you're just these tiny little twigs, if you aren't doing things to build up who you are, your life is not getting stronger, you are not going to be able to sustain your calling. The things you're supposed to do, the place you're supposed to go, those you're supposed to influence, it's just going to crush. But, like, to live a life worthy, that means you're spending time in the Word, you're building yourself up, you're checking your heart, you're realizing things like, oh man, I got angry at that. Like, why? And like kind of like stepping back and working through things like that. You're going to build that structure up. And that starts now. That starts when you're young. It's not like, oh, I'll work on that when I'm older.
Yeah.
It's like, no, these are things like to grasp hold of right now and just to build upon. And it's not like it's a hard thing and it's like not fun. Like if you view it as in like, I'm trying to get my life in order so that I can like live a better life to help out others as well. Like it can be a fun process of shoot, like I didn't handle that situation well, but I can do better next time. And then next time comes around and you do like handle it better, or you're not as mean to your friend or your parents or whatever.
Yeah.
You'll start to see progress and you'll feel better about yourself and how you're doing, and ultimately just keep growing on top of that.
Yeah. Something we talked a lot about our relationships when Kayla and I said is standards, right? Like you guys are the sons and daughters of the highest king.
Yeah.
That means you have the highest standards and you guys shouldn't settle for that. I heard this analogy once of a preacher called Michael Todd. He had this analogy once where he had a video of him playing basketball on like an 8-foot hoop, right? And he was dunking it. He was just destroying whoever he was playing, right? And then the hoop was raised to 10 feet. And then he was nowhere close to dunking. I mean, it was just like not even in the same ballpark. And his whole principle behind it was we practice at the wrong playing field. We set the wrong standards for ourselves, and we practice at this bare minimum 8-foot hoop. And then we get used to playing to that. But once life hits us and once we're brought to the expectations that's required of us and like put on us as far as through the Bible and God, we're just nowhere close. We're not even hitting that. We're practicing on society's standards when God's giving these standards. And we're not even in the same ballpark when it comes to where we should be as a society and as a, like, for example, something I struggled with is like love everybody, right? I was like, I hardly even like my brother. How can I love everybody, right? And I really struggled with that for a long time when I became a Christian. And, sometimes it's not necessarily that you love them, but you treat them with love because they have the same claim over the throne as you. They might not be there yet, but we have to believe that they're going to get there. And so just stuff like that, like not accepting that you don't have to love everyone, that you're not going to love everyone, but accepting that, hey, I'm going to try to treat everybody with love, and just taking, like Ty said, taking those small steps to build that whole picture of whatever it is. And in this case, being a man, taking leadership over those things, admitting that you've done things wrong. And I talked a lot about when me and Michaela were broken up. It took a lot for me to admit that I had done things wrong and I did things immaturely and stuff like that. But that's what built a leader out of me. That's things that made those stepping stones to become where I was today, a man of God. What else do you have to add?
That's good. So yeah, with having this whole overarching thing, a calling, all that, and that whole workout idea is you have to have, what is your end goal in mind, and what are you shooting for? It's like for me, something I had a pastor ask me years ago. It was like to a whole group of us. He's like, whoever you're sitting next to, just tell them your biggest goal in life. And I barely knew the guy I sit next to, and I didn't even think about it. I just turned and I'm like, to love, or like to be the best husband and father that I can. And then I just sat down and I was like, what just came out of my mouth? Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, but it's also like, that's heavy. Like that takes a lot of work. And like, I don't do the best job all the time either, but it's that constant thing, like I said, of trying to do better the next time.
Yeah.
And then so it makes you question the things that you're doing. Like, okay, does this line up with my ultimate goal and my vision to be the best husband and father? Does, let's say, wanting to hang out with friends every night super late, is that going to line up with my vision of wanting to be the best husband? Like, am I going to give my wife enough time if I'm giving it to everyone else? Probably not. And, I don't really have that problem because I don't have a bunch of friends. But you're saying?
I mean, take that in a direct correlation of like God. Like, are you giving all your time to something else or somebody else?
Yeah, that's good.
Are you taking time to build your relationship with God? God doesn't just throw out the best, relationship you could ever imagine. It takes, like Ty says, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of practice. If you would ask me last 2 years, would I be anywhere I am today in my relationship with God, I probably would have laughed, because it took a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I didn't see that end goal. But once I started practicing on the play field of the regulation God has sent for me, that's when I began to see those end goals and to be able to speak to God freely and be able to hear from God freely on a day-to-day basis. And so going into that, I want to talk a lot about, or I don't want to talk a lot, but I want to talk about, what was I say? Treating. So we taught a lot about our wives, how to treat a woman if you're a man of God, right? And this kind of goes vice versa, but we're specifically talking to the men. You're, like I said earlier, your standard is you're the son of the highest king, right? These are the daughters of the highest king. And the standard you hold for yourself, you should hold for that woman. A woman is not just there to fulfill your needs. They're not just there to get you to your next spot, right? They're there to help you grow. In my premarital counseling, Chris File, who's actually a preacher right now, told me this phrase. He's like, what your spouse is not the only thing that she's there for, but what your spouse is there for is build you up to see the face of the Father, right? Is your friends doing that? Is this girl that you're showing interest and you guys end up being in a relationship, is this girl going to build you up to see the face of the Father? And Ty has some stuff to say on purity about that, and I'm going to slide that right to you.
Here we go. Oh man, so yeah, it's a battle to fight for. It's something that is totally worth it. Like your purity is so valuable. It's a treasure to be fought for. And if it wasn't this like valuable treasure, it wouldn't be hard. It would be super easy to just stay a virgin, to have pure thoughts, to just pure intentions, motives, everything encapsulated in that. It's hard and it takes work because it is something that is worth it.
Yeah.
And you just, how do I word this?
Purity is, I'll take it. So my wife was not, she has admitted this to the group, so I know she'll be okay with me saying this, but I wasn't the first person my wife had sex with, right? And seeing what she had gone through hurt my soul a lot, just hurt me a lot. Not that she had done that with somebody else, but seeing what she had to go through. This person didn't care for her. Like I said, he didn't care, she wasn't preparing to see the face of the Father. He didn't care for what she actually felt. He was just there to get, his fix of a woman, right? And the damage that it did to Michaela was incredible, and it took her years and years to get over that, and a lot of prayer and a lot of time with God. But saying that, the difference now for she's been healed and she's, to when she was going through all that is just, she's up here and it was here. There's just day and night difference. And the reason I'm telling you this is once God forgave her, in his eyes, she was just a virgin. And she was up here. She was feeling great, right? And she stayed up here. But when she was down here, she had this relationship with God and people cared for her and she had all the right things. But because that one thing happened, it haunted her in a sense. The enemy likes to attack you in your weakest moments. And that's one of her weakest moments. And that's when the enemy targeted, because it knew it'd get to her. But, thank the Lord that Michaela is a very strong woman of God. Shout out to Michaela.
Praise.
But purity, like Ty was saying, it's a treasure worth fighting for. And it's a really hard fight to get there. And I was talking about earlier, don't let the little things slip. Because once you start letting the little things slip and then it slips into something bigger, and then eventually you're just in a big mud puddle and you don't know how to get out, right?
Yeah. That's a snowball effect.
Seriously. What's it called? And that's to say, I realize, you guys are young, you're going to make mistakes, but don't just have that mentality like, oh, we made a mistake, reset, right? I'm going to try my absolute hardest day in and day and night to respect what this woman has, right? To respect this treasure that we each have and we want to cherish forever. And I will say, being able to give your wife or husband virginity is the greatest gift of all. on your wedding night. And
Yeah, and I love that you shared that about Kayla, because even if you have messed up, it's not too late.
yeah,
And that's something we've talked about before, is God is a good God. He's a forgiving God. He's right there, right when you want to turn to him and you want to repent. Not just you're doing sin and you ask for forgiveness and you do it again. It's like you actually repent, and that means to completely 180 turn.
yeah,
You're like, I'm living this lifestyle, and you're like, I want to repent, and you put it all behind you. Like
yeah,
it's gone, it's done, and you're moving towards something better. And God is always right there. And he's just
absolutely.
a loving father. He's so good, and he wants to help you out so much.
Yeah,
So you're never too far gone. You've never messed up too much, and there's always a better way forward with God.
yeah. I had some conversation with a youth student this last week, and we were talking about fears and stuff, and fear of punishment, because God has punishment in the Bible for these things that we do. And how I explained this to him was we always say God the Father, picture him as your dad, like your physical earthly dad, right? And if you do something that really messed up, and he knows that if you keep doing this, you're gonna go down a bad path, he's probably gonna slap you in the wrist and be like, "Hey, stop!" Don't do that, right? That's considered punishment. So God cares for you, and he wants the best future for you, and he's going to have your best interest in your heart all the time, right? And so if this is your best interest, and he sees you start traveling this way, he's going to slap you in the wrist, be like, "Hey, come on, this is your interest over here, and you're traveling over here, you're nowhere in the zone, bucko.
Right.
Fix it," right? And so what I was getting to is, you're not always going to feel that slap in the wrist, right? You're not always going to feel that guilt right away. But I promise you, when you let these small things slip and you lose vision of where you want to go, that will eventually catch up. And this small little ball of guilt will turn into a big ball of guilt. And so I just really want to, caution you as far as, don't let the small things slip.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the theme that I've said the last couple of things, but like we said, it's a snowball effect. It can really affect years and years of your life, right? Small things can turn into really big things and really take over your life. I used to hate talking in front of people, right? And when God told me that I was going to go into ministry, I was like, "What?" So I can hardly say a speech in front of the class without almost passing out of embarrassment, right? But God is there, like Ty said. When I would feel like I failed, God was like, "That's okay. That's okay. You're there. You tried. That's all I can ask. I'm here to watch you build. I'm not here to take you from point A to point B like that. I'm here to watch you grow and watch you build and learn those things between, so you can teach the next people those things." So just keeping in mind of, these relationships now matter for your future relationships, whether it's with the same person or the next person or whatever it is. What these principles you build now will last for you for a while until you decide to change them. So what else do you have to add? Or do you have anything else to add? By the way, if you guys have any questions, make sure you text me at 308-238-8510. One more time, 308-238-8510. Of course, it'll be anonymous. Nobody will ever know who texted it. So if you guys have any questions, you can let us know. So do you have anything else to add before anybody texts a question?
It's a good question. I feel like we've kind of bounced around.
Yeah, we
bunch
have
of different
bounced a lot.
things.
What about parents? Respecting your parents.
Yes, that's a good thing. They literally raise you, pour their life out for you.
Yeah.
And they are, for a lot of people, that's their only image of what God looks like, is how your parents treat you. And do you think would you treat God the way that you treat your parents sometimes? Would you talk back to him like you do? Just kind of changing your perception. Perception, is that the right word? Perception. Yeah, of how you view your parents. Because they deserve your honor and love and respect. And I know it's hard. We've both been through everything. But just to trust that your parents have your best interests in mind, and that they love you, and that they're trying to do their best, at raising you,
Yeah.
and just trying to see all those things like through the lens of love. And if you have like a relationship with your parents that's kind of rocky, like just try, sometimes it's not your fault. We're all hurt, broken people,
Yeah.
and it sucks and that pours over. Like if you can just try your best at trying to love them through their faults and trying to push through it, like the outcomes that you'll start to see can really change your whole family's dynamic.
Yeah.
And if you are, it sounds weird like telling the kids to try to love their parents,
Yeah.
But like if you're in that situation, trying to restore a relationship can be hard, but the fruit of it can be so good.
Yeah.
And like just to know that you're not alone, that you have God there to help you. You have other people like us and the leadership team to be here to help you and guide you through any hard times that you have.
Yeah.
But
So I was like a really ornery, snotty little boy towards my parents, and man, I definitely regret it 100%. And something that really just completely changed my thought process and mind behind my parents was one day, and this was before I felt like the Lord, like I knew what the Lord was saying to me. I know that was the Lord speaking to me now, but before it just something just dropped in my heart, and I always viewed as just my life was hard. Like the things I'm going through is hard. My parents don't have to go through that stuff anymore. And God's dropped my heart at that time when I didn't realize it, but He dropped in my heart. It's like they struggle too. You're not the only one that's going through hard times. You're not the only one that, you know, is struggling with friends, is struggling with money, is struggling with whatever it is. And my parents, I'm so thankful for my parents. They're great parents. For example, this is something that I played traveling sports, a lot of it when I was younger. And I always expected to go all the tournaments, all this and all that. And if they're say, I don't know if we can do that, I would get almost offended that they wouldn't let me do that. I'm like, this is my dream. You're not going to support that? Are you kidding? Like stuff like that. And then I got out of my parents' house and I started coaching a competitive soccer team. And the travel's up to me and then just reimburse me. But anyways, the travel's up to me, and I had to get my own food, get my own hotel, get my own gas, and all that stuff. And it was really expensive. And I looked for like dirt cheap hotels, and it was still a break in my bank. I'm like, oh my goodness. And my parents were trying to put me, and I was on a wealthy team. We weren't wealthy, but my team was wealthy. And they stay in the nicest hotels, and I'd get super mad if my parents wouldn't put me in there. So they'd work their hardest, sometimes work extra just to put me in that hotel with those teammates. And I remember just sitting there sometimes. And if they said, I don't know if we'll be able to stay in the Ramada or stay in the embassy this weekend, I just get so offended over something so slight. And I just want to let you know that these years that you have with your parents go by really quick. Mm-hmm. You're going to blink and it's gone. And I just want you to hear my heart so much that, like Ty was saying, work your hardest to make this relationship worth it. Because once you're out of high school, my mom has helped me immensely. My mom and dad have helped me all the time. I call them all the time, hang out with them all the time, because I missed their tutor through life. They're my tutor through life, and there still are. And so I just want you to know that your parents know something they're talking about. They know stuff. They're not as dumb as you think, right? They're awesome. They know things, and you might need to take some things with a grain of salt, but they're just, like I said earlier, they have your best interest at heart. They want you to succeed. They know what your end goal is, and they want to get you there. But sometimes it's going to be a different route than you expected, and you can't get offended over it. You can't damage that relationship because of it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, think about how much older are they?
Yeah.
20, 30 years older than you. Like, how long have you lived? 15 years. How long have they lived? Like, yeah, they're old. I get it. But they've experienced a lot, and they're trying to just help you get even further.
Yeah.
Like let's say they're 40 years old. They're trying to help you pass them when you're 40. Like be at an even better spot, because they're trying to teach you from their mistakes.
Yeah.
And there's a quote of, their ceiling is your floor. Like wherever their highest thing that they've reached, that's your starting point.
That's good.
And just like don't try to start out on your own. Like they've built so much. Hopefully their parents, your grandparents, all that. Hopefully life is building on top of life.
Yeah.
and
that's
you're not
good.
just trying to do it on your own, because that's just a
Good.
waste of effort.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
starts with the small things. If you're playing Fortnite and it's 11 o'clock on a school night and they say, hey, it's time to go to bed, Timmy. Don't be like, what? What do you mean time to go to bed? I got another game, It's the small things that just builds up.
Yeah.
Your parents really love it when you listen to them.
Yeah.
Take that from my advice. They really love it when you listen to the small things. And if you're trying to repair a relationship or build your relationship, that's somewhere you can start. Just listen to the small things. Don't talk back. Don't argue. You're like, okay, mom, you're right. I can't get off. And I know it's hard to do, especially when you're having fun and dropping with the boys, whatever it is. It's the small thing and we keep saying small things. It's small things that add up into big things. Just like it snowballs the wrong way, it can snowball the right way.
Yeah.
And so,
it should be the
right
title for this. Snowballs.
Awesome. So we don't have any questions, but do you have any last comments, questions, concerns, anything before we end it?
I really like how you said the whole snowball, the little things.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about snowball and like that bad aspect, like this wrong thought or this wrong action, and it slowly builds. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like it can be a good thing.
Absolutely.
And it's like you swapping those bad things for good things. And let's say you just start reading your Bible once a day, or trying at least a couple times a week. Those things start growing. You'll I heard, I don't know how accurate this is, but they did a study on how often reading the Bible will kind of change who you are. And they said it takes 4 times a week. They're like, yeah, they did a study where it's like you read it once a week, nothing really happened.
Yeah.
Kind of once it hit 4 times a week, that's over half of your week. You're reading the Bible, you're in the Word. They noticed the change in people's lives and their behaviors, their response, all that. So just little things like that, starting to, we have phones, we have AirPods, you can just listen to it. It's super easy. Just get it in to your life somehow.
Yeah.
And there's always time. If you think about how much Fortnite
seriously.
we play, how much Netflix we watch,
always time.
There's always time. So it's it's those little things of carving out 5 minutes. It's a little thing, but who knows what that 5 minutes can lead to. Pretty soon, you can't get enough in that 5 minutes, and you'll just want to spend more time with God. You'll start praying, not just for yourself, but you'll start praying for others. And you'll start being more thankful, and just things will start to grow. And one of my favorite things is when I'm not feeling it, when I'm not in the mood, I just want to complain and pout about life, I start thanking God. And it is crazy how fast my perspective can change. It can go from, oh, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do this today, to, God, thank you that I'm healthy. Thank you that I'm alive. Especially giving our times now with, people's health and all that. Thank you that I have a job. Thank you that I have a loving family. And just things start changing. You see the world differently. Thank you for that beautiful tree. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And so it's the little things in life that really can build to great, beautiful things. And everything, I love seeds. I love plants and all that. Everything starts from a tiny seed.
Yeah.
And I got a tattoo of a cone, a pine cone. And you think about how small that is, and it grows to be a huge tree.
Yeah.
And that's your life. If you're planting those little seeds of, obeying your parents, or reading the Word, or not being selfish and helping out, those are little seeds that are planting. And, you're creating good soil in your life, and those things are going to sprout and start to take root. And as you get older and as you keep watering that, those are going to grow into big things.
Yeah.
And then you think about if you're growing a tree, let's say metaphor speaking in your life, that's something that you can give. You're pretty soon going to produce fruit.
Yeah.
And that's something that is another seed that someone can take into their life. So if you've been stewarding this fruit of reading your Bible every day, and you just, fast forward 20 years, you're married, you have kids, and this is something that you've grown, that's some like a fruit that you can pass to your kids, and you can help them, keep growing. And I know it's a lot of metaphors, but it's just the way my mind works.
It's funny
But-
that you started talking about the thank you thing, because my next point was, for a while, my let's say motto for life was grateful people live grateful lives. And the whole aspect behind it was I used to, like he said, brood, pout over this, like the stupid things in life. And I just began to be, grateful. If you take a step back and you really look at your life, there's a lot of things to be grateful for, especially if you compare yourself like the US to like other countries, other places. You've got a lot to be grateful for, regardless of what crap you're going through. We all have something to be grateful for. And I really just adopted this grateful people live grateful lives motto. And what I found is once I became grateful, once I started saying thank you for those things, I began to become generous. Might not be in terms of wealth, but I became generous with my words, generous with my energy, generous with my times. I began to adopt the fact that everybody's not where they need to be right now.
Yeah.
And I began to be generous with my, forgiveness, and just really adopt that mindset that God has of, I'm grateful for you. And I'm going to show you that in whatever generosity you need, whether it's time, energy, money, whatever it is, I want to provide that for you because I'm grateful for you. And segue into that, do you have anything else?
No. Keep going.
Segue into ending this. I'm very grateful for you guys, and I'm very thankful that I get to speak into your guys' lives, and I get to see you guys hopefully soon. That you guys are a part of our life, and that you guys are out there living your life. And just want to let you guys know, Ty and I are here.
Yeah.
The leadership, whoever you need, I talk to somebody, right? We miss you guys. We love you guys. We'll end it in prayer, and then you guys are good to go. So, dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the moments, the time, the places that we can just meet you, Father, meet you and talk about your greatness. And Lord, I just thank you that you're here for us and that you want us to grow and that you love us enough to mess up and still be there. And Lord, I just thank you for all the great things you have in mind. And we just thank you that you have us and we don't have to worry, in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks, guys. Take care. I got to figure out how to end this. Oh, there it is.